Tinfoil hat. Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
Good morning, Swarm, and welcome to Tinfoil Hat. You know I am. You know I'm here to do. I'm here to rah. Join me as always, Xavier Guerrero and Jay Nice, Juicy Johnny, Johnny Woodard. Guys, an all-time banger today. All-time banger. We had Joe Atwill on, and he crushed it. We go deep in the Freemasonry and its effect on Nazism, Zionism. It's like, dude, it's an all-time banger. So we want you guys to enjoy it. Go check out SamTripoli.com real quick for my dates. This weekend, where's my other gigs? Why am I? Okay. Yeah, this weekend, Xavier, myself, the Prophet Eddie Bravo, we're in Cleveland, Ohio, Thursday night. We're Pottstown, PA, Friday night, and Pittsburgh is almost sold out. We have two shows there. Go check those out. The Comedy Chaos is back. One of the greatest shows of all time. Put together a lineup to kill all lineups, to destroy all things. Bert Kreischer, Felipe Esparza, Margaret Cho, Bobby Lee, and Jessime Peluso and Ryan Sickler. Great lineup. And then, of course, Batavia at the end of the month, plus some shows in February and March. Go check that out. Anything else, guys?
New Broken Sim. We just had a crazy long ass episode catching up on all the stuff from the last month, all the wild shit going on the internet. Check it out.
We
don't smoke the same. We don't smoke the same. Just had George Press story. So if you're a fool, go check it out.
All right. Enjoy this episode with Joe Atwill.
Drink from the fountain.
All right, let's get into it. Very excited to have this guest on. He has a wonderful podcast called Our Interesting Times. Please welcome to the show, Joe Atwill. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, Sam. How are you?
Joe, I'm doing great. I'm very blessed to have you on. For our listeners who may not be familiar with you and your podcast, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where our listeners can find you?
Well, I'm probably best known for a particular book called Caesar's Messiah. I've also have a book referred to as, that's the Shakespeare's Secret Messiah. And then I have on a website called Post Slaviana, I have dozens of papers which are not behind a paywall that have to do with analysis of like modern literature primarily. Get into the Beatles, but also I think probably the best known of that work is my work on Catcher in the Rye. I show it's just tip to stern Freemason initiation ritual, from very beginning to the end. So that would be, kind of my background in terms of the internet. I got into all this because I was fortunate enough to sell my interest in my software company at a relatively young age, and I kind of returned to stuff I was interested in when I was younger. This led to Caesar's Messiah, which I don't know if it's actually something you guys would want to get into, but it's a book that has a whole different interpretive framework for the Gospels, and it portrays them as a Roman invention and basically as propaganda. And so this then led to, the Shakespearean literature book, which it's a mirror of the thing I did with the Gospels, and it just gives a new interpretive framework for Shakespeare and shows that it's related, directly linked to the Roman humor that I present in Shakespeare's, in Caesar's Messiah. So having been sort of sensitized to oligarch use of propaganda, when 9/11 occurred, I stared at Building 7's collapse and didn't buy what they were telling me. And so this then led to just the understanding that the literature that I had been producing was actually kind of leading me into understanding that our governments use propaganda to control us. The governments in general are a secret society that are aligned against the people. They are there for, I would call, there's a kind of Judeo-Masonic oligarchic class that I don't really know how to define specifically. I can guess at a lot of the members, but I really don't know how it's organized because it's very well hidden, very secret. But as best I can, I try to decode literature and political events and present my impressions of them to the public, specifically to create skepticism. I think skepticism is the great tool that has been lost to us. We simply buy stories that are told us as, if they have a few kind of historical dignitaries presenting the information, we just will believe these things as plausible. Things like Holocaust, which I'm more of a revisionist than believer. But even World War I and World War II, I think, are basically theatrical productions. They're not what was told us in terms of the motivations behind the players, I think, is fake. I think basically what's going on is depopulation. I think that we're in the process of a long-term depopulation program. And I think that, in fact, like modern culture is infested with this. I think from the counterculture forward to today, we're looking at just various ways to break apart anything that might stand against the oligarchs, things like family, ethnicity, the capacity for Socratic thinking, things like this out the window, just get rid of them. And you end up with what I call, the pornographic male and the single mom. And even that's a euphemism because so few people are having children now. It's really just...
everything you're saying is really resonating with me. There's probably a couple things you and I might see the world a little different, but that's okay. But everything you're saying really resonates with me right now. Everything is a magic trick. Everything is a magic trick. And
they took over the historical narrative, and they saw how
the history is a lie. It's a lie. It's a 100% lie. So I have a couple questions I want to ask you. First of all, the way I see society right now, it's kind of like, and Johnny, tell me if I'm getting this right in terms of the scene. There's a scene where, like, in Star Wars, where Han Solo and Luke Skywalker and everyone's kind of shot down into this trash compactor, right? And the wall, am I right on this, Johnny? And the walls are kind of coming in.
Crap, yeah.
Now, the walls are coming in on everybody, but in the scene, everybody's trying to figure out how to stop the walls from crushing them. But if we do this analogy to the West in America, the people in the trash compactor aren't working together to stop the walls from closing in on you. They're fighting over everything stupid, and they don't care that the walls are crushing and going to crush them. And that's how I see, like, what's going on right now. And that's why everything you're saying right now really resonates with me. Really resonates with me that this is that everything at every moment is a psyop. And that, so as I listen to you, I've been thinking a lot lately in my life about, like, is it possible that I might know too much and I can't function in society because I know so much that's going on. I can't sit down and actually enjoy life. But then I hear what you're saying. I go, have you even gone deeper? And can you function in society knowing all the stuff you want to know? And I have an answer to it. Like, and an answer is like, I know what they're doing, so I don't give them the reaction that they want, which is fear and anxiety and hatred and all that stuff. But my question to you is, do you know too much?
No, not enough. I think that our nature, our healthy nature as humans, is to fight and to defend our families, defend our ethnicities, defend a number of things which are endemic, and sustainative to our life, right? So I think that what has been taken away from us is the capacity to resist, which I think if we regain that, primarily with regaining the capacity to be actually angry, that will be healthier and actually think more clearly. But you can't just let anger sit there by itself. We also have to think better. And, so to think better, there's like some formal rules of logic which are useful, but I think that, Sam, the bamboozlement that we're like living under is the thing which most diminishes our life. This is the thing that really makes it so miserable in so many ways. And so if we can end this, we can end the misery to some extent in our own life, but of course we'll think clearer on a cultural level. And I want to give an example of this. Because they've taken over history, we in a way know more about our future than we do about our past. That's kind of a sad thought, but that's really true. We just don't. The past is so distorted. They've been able to control it so completely that it's a waste of time, really, to try to recreate it or try to say, well, what was real? Not necessarily a waste of time, but I think that you're never going to get to any sort of meaningful conclusion. But what we can do is we can use like the rules of physics and logic and reason to like think clearly and think about our problems that we have at the moment. And specifically, if you look at like just the example I typically give is 911. You look at the story they're giving us, you come to all these inexplicable elements in it. They're totally inexplicable, right? Like, how does Building 7 collapse at free fall? How can it be symmetrical? All this stuff. It doesn't make any sense. So my point is, we need to always find interpretive framework that is coherent. And when we find stuff like that that's coherent, like you go, well, you know what? It's an inside job. This is controlled demolition. I think actually you have a clear mind, which is a step toward actually clear feelings and better kind of psychological states for yourself. So this is the thing that we should always remember, is that they can lie, but they cannot really change logic and basically the rules of physics. So when you get stuff that's absolutely inexplicable, you should look for frameworks that are actually logical, that the event you're looking at can fit into in a rational way, like the invasion by Hamas of Israel on October the 7th, where you go, well, gee, 7 times they had the Israeli border technology failed. Well, how's that possible?
Yeah.
Has it failed before once?
Yeah. Yeah.
How is it made up? Isn't it just rows and rows of computers tied into AI, with humans like backing up? It's not possible for it to fail at all. So therefore, what's the framework that makes sense? Well, it's a false flag. It's created to give a pretext for the Israelis to genocide the Palestinians, which of course fits into the historical trajectory just perfectly, right? Because you can go back 100 years and you can look at what Palestine was, and then you can see the thing getting chopped down and the people getting pushed out and the land being taken away. And now you have this situation here with this bizarre October 7th thing, which is like a bad Chuck Norris movie. We have guys with hang gliders, and so it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so that's inexplicable. But if you go, well, it's a false flag, then suddenly the pack of lies goes away. It makes perfect sense. And I just think that's the tool that I think we should try to always, bring to this world.
Yeah. What's it called? Greg Carlwood calls it the deviation from the norm. Yeah. Like, when's there a deviation from the norm? Yeah. So the narrative on October 7th, it was so, in my humble opinion, it was so bad that everyone goes, why did it take you 5 hours to show up? That they actually were willing to jump on a sword and be like, oh no, we were just sucky that day. You're like, so you're willing to come out and say that you took heavy casualties that day, and that wasn't that you didn't show up to allow it to happen, that you actually got your asses kicked. That's because the narrative of a false flag, I feel like they were starting to freak out because everyone's talking about it. What people don't realize is that there was they shorted an Israeli ETF, right? Which was called the MSCI Israeli ETF, and it got shorted the day of, and then it was supposed to end right after October 7th, in which these people who shorted made millions of dollars off the deaths of not just Palestinians but other Israelis, which we've seen a lot in a long time. So I'm very excited to talk to you because Mark brought up what you wanted to talk about, which was the history of Zionism. And I think we're living in chaotic times, but I also think it's extraordinary times. And that all this information's coming out to the point where people think everything is getting crazier, but I think it's just becoming more obvious. And we're now seeing more and more information where the fear of discussing certain groups isn't there anymore. So I just did Jimmy Dore show, and I was talking about how, like, if I go Islamic jihadists who want to do Sharia law are absolutely crazy people, 99% of the people would be like, yeah, totally, man. Just those guys are whack jobs. And if I go Christian fundamentalists who think gays are going to burn in hell and they show up to their funerals and they boycott them, are just like the despicable people. Most people are like, yeah, dude, that's gross. I don't believe in that at all. If I go Talmud Zionist, look at non-Jews as cattle, and they think it's okay to molest children under 9 years old as long as they're not Jewish, people go, you're an anti-Semitic scumbag. And I go, no, dude, all the Abrahamic religions have extremists that carry out a certain job. And then we get into the history of Zionism, which I'm very excited to talk to you about, because I don't think people talk about it enough. And again, I'm Christian. I know that may not be something that you subscribe to, which is fine.
I was raised a Catholic. I was an altar boy.
Yeah.
So I'm from that culture. I know it. Yeah.
So and my girlfriend's Jewish. I know a lot of Jews. I know not a lot of Muslims. I think most people are fine. They just want to have a faith and connection to their past, that they know, as we know, history's a lie, but they want a connection to the past. But there is a small group within the group that is just zealous and crazy. And what happens is, because we're animals and we run in packs, we have to circle the wagons around the crazy and defend them at all costs. So the history of Zionism is something I think that people are finally getting to talk about, because I do think it's very important. So I would love to discuss you. Where do we start with that discussion?
Well, oddly enough, we should probably start in 1840 with Lord Palmerston, because he was the father of what becomes Zionism. Palmerston in 1840, he was the Prime Minister of England and the world's most powerful individual. He's the guy who commanded the British gunboats to blow up the Chinese, and during the Opium Wars. Complete racist pig. He took the Irish off of the farms that he owned and put them into Nova Scotia, where they all froze to death. He did this knowingly, So he's a very much a nihilist, and of course he's a Grand Master Freemason.
Mm-hmm.
So in 1840, he goes, now is the time for the Jews to return to the Holy Land. Just makes the statement in Parliament, now is the time, 1840. This was, in the sense of the Jewish intellectuals of the era, news to the Jews. The Jews in 1840 were actually on the uptick in Europe. They were, I want to digress for a second. Reform Judaism was by far the most popular form of Judaism. And at this point, Reform Judaism was absolutely opposed to Zionism, to the physical occupation of Judea. They were opposed to it. And when Palmerston brought out his declaration, they organized and put political pressure upon him to retract the statement. They knew it would lead to warfare. They perfectly knew that the area was occupied by the Palestinians. It was part of the Ottoman Empire. There was a tiny percentage of the population living in 1840 in Judea that was, in Palestine, that was were Jews, like 3% or less. So they just didn't see this. And they also said, look, they were anti-Zionist to the point where they were creating religious tracts which indicated that they thought that they could turn Judaism into a religion for the world. They said that we think that the message of the Israeli or the Hebrew prophets can be something that all of the world can benefit from, and we intend to open up Judaism to the world, completely opposite of Zionism, completely 180 degrees. And they were the dominant form of Judaism. Now, Palmerston and his group, which are, basically you're talking about high-level Freemasonry and the Rothschild family, this is pretty much makes up his cohort. They destroyed that aspect of Reform Judaism. They had a specific plan. They hired people. They went out and they created enthusiasm for what they called restorativism. It wasn't called Zionism in 1840. It was restorativism. They were going to restore the Israelites, as they called them, to Judea. And this is an important point. It wasn't called Judaism till 1890, when a Jewish guy decided to change the term because they wanted a more. At that point, Jews were becoming more interested in returning to Palestine, and so they wanted to give it a kind of a Hebrew twist. So the word Zionism was coined, but restorativism was worked hand in hand with the destruction of Reform Judaism and the creation of an understanding of Palestine. So what they did is they sent these survey teams, one after another, and they took them into Palestine. They were funded all by the Grand Lodge of British Freemasonry and by the British royal family. And these are not contestable facts because the pay slips are all in existence. So these two groups funded these surveys. Now, what was the purpose of the surveys? They wanted to determine what part of Palestine needed to be stolen first so that they could set up immigration into the right areas to create agriculture, to have transportation back and forth so that they would have some ability to defend themselves. So the surveys, which were starting in 1850, were all with the idea that eventually Britain would take control of the area, and then they could basically hand it over to the Zionist organizations that they were creating.
Hey guys, I want to tell you about our friends at Helix Sleep. Okay, listen, Helix lineup of sleep mattresses. They offer 20 different unique mattresses, including the award-winning Luxe collection, the newly released Helix Elite collection, a mattress designed for big and tall sleepers, and even a mattress made just for kids. Helix knows there's no better way to test out a new mattress than by sleeping on it in your own home. That's why they offered a 100-night trial and a 10 to 15 year warranty to try out your new Helix mattress. Everyone is unique and everyone sleeps differently. That's why Helix has several different mattresses models to choose from, each designed for specific sleep positions and feel preferences. Okay, it's really that easy. So I took the Helix sleep quiz and I matched up with the Midnight Lux. That's right. Love the Midnight Lux. And I wanted something really soft. And I sleep on my side and I roll around and it's just kind of crazy. Okay. I love it. Dana loves it. The dogs really love it. Everyone loves this mattress. It feels like sleeping on heaven. Do you guys have a mattress?
Oh, I got the queen. I brand new. I was trying to get a king with I had too much space, so I got a queen. It was perfect, and it makes me go to sleep like a baby.
Like a little baby.
Like a little baby.
Love my Helix mattress. Got it back in the Punch Drunk days when they sponsored Punch Drunk, and it's a wonderful mattress.
Still
It's
rocking?
a blessing. It's a
Oh, yes.
blessing. Still rock. Oh, you know, Johnny, King of Pound Town, going for it there. But here we go. So, guys, here's what I want you to do. Helix is offering 20% off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners. Go to helixsleep.com/tinfoil and use the code HelixPartner20. This is their best offer yet, and it won't last long. With Helix, better sleep starts now. Does Zionism come out of the Russian Revolution? Is there any connection to that where after, you know, the
Sure,
Bolshevik
let me
Revolution?
What there was is there was a tremendous amount of fighting between ethnic Russians and Jews leading up to the Russian Revolution and before. And those were the first waves of immigrants into Palestine. So they took advantage of every possible way to break the Jews free. In other words, to give them some motivation to to travel and emigrate into Palestine. So that they went from this period from, like, say, 1880, when they were like 5% of the population, to 1910, when they were already up to like 25% of the population. They had gotten that many Jews in Europe to decide to move down to Israel. And the Russian conflicts, and particularly the pogroms that were associated with the events leading up to World War I, those were key. They were key aspects to get bodies that were willing to to move down there. So when they were able to get the population to a certain size, you started having Arab, agitation against them, and then this, reaches a head just before World War I. Now it's clear to the Arabs that there is a policy to basically take Palestine away from Arab control. They can see it. There's wave after wave of these immigration coming in. And so this then leads to the great tragic moment for the Arabs, is that at the beginning of World War I, there was the Grand Master Freemason was also.
Can I ask one quick jump in? Sorry about this.
Go ahead.
I recently learned of something called Operation Magic Carpet. Have you heard of this operation? Where the former United States Secretary of Homeland Security, Michael Chertoff, right, who was the assistant, where is he? In 2001, he was the United States Assistant Attorney General for this crime division. He was instrumental in returning a lot of the, let's say, the dancing Israelis and stuff like that. He was the one who had a giant, he was the guy who basically said, we're going to deport them back to Israel. His job. Well, it turns out his mother was part of a movement called a Mossad movement called Operation Magic Carpet, where they smuggled somewhere of like 40,000 Jews out of like all these Middle Eastern countries under the what year
was that, Sam? Do you know?
Let me look that up real quick. Operation, because she's supposedly like inspirational in the formation of Israel.
That's interesting. Well, I mean, I'm not familiar with the term.
1945.
Okay, 45.
Yeah, that's 1945.
That's far down the road. The greatest Zionist in history was Adolf Hitler. He's actually the individual who organized more Jews to move from Europe to Israel than any other single person.
What was that? What was that agreement called?
Harasa.
I have it right here. Hold on. It's right here. Hold on. I can find it for you. It's super interesting. Like it's like operate. Hold on. Start. The Havara Agreement. HAVARA agreement.
Yeah. And so again, just to, I think these things are kind of better like presented anyway, particularly for the first time for people to listen to it in sequence. We'll get to Hitler in a second, but just as World War I broke out, McMahon, who was the plenipotentiary for Britain in the area, he was also the head Grand Master. That's always the pattern. It's always, they have a title like general or something, but then you look deeper, and it turns out that at that time, the Freemasons, that was the organization that was organizing all this. So McMahon met with Hussein, who was, the leading Arab sort of politico of the era. And the two of them worked out a deal, which was that the Arabs would support the Brits during World War I in exchange for political control over Arabia following the end of the war. So this was the agreement. The Arabs lived up to it. They suffered 100,000 fatalities during World War I fighting for the Brits against the Ottoman Empire, 500,000 casualties. They paid the blood price. But then, as the war was ending, the Brits came out with what's called the Balfour Declaration, which was really, Balfour was actually a Cecil. That was one of these Grand Master families that organized Zionism back, going back to Palmerston. You had the Churchills, the Cecils, Palmerston. These were all the high-level Freemason families. They then created the Balfour Declaration, which was addressed to Rothschild, who was in their circle. There's no particular reason. I mean, it wasn't like, there was some sort of conclusion being, obtained here. It was just they addressed it to him. We can go into that later, but the fact is that McMahon fortunately wrote a letter which explained his correspondence with Hussein. And this is really the critical moment of Zionism, is that McMahon said, I have this agreement with Hussein, but it's all just a pack of words. It's meaningless. We're not going to do any of this. What we need to do now is get them to fight with us against the Turks. And then as soon as the war's over, we're just going to do what we want to do. I mean, he admits in the letter, which is, again, public domain, anyone can read it, that they are going to not honor the agreement that they had with the Arabs. Now, when the Palestinians, when they use expressions like, from the river to the sea, people think that this is some kind of violent, concept, that is directed against the Israelis. Actually, what they're really doing is simply declaring the region that was given to them, that is the land that was taken away from them, that they physically occupied for hundreds of years, and that they had the agreement with the Britons to be given political control over following World War I. As soon as World War I ended, the British sent in military. They demilitarized the Arabs. Okay, this was key. They demilitarized them, and then then they divided the region into little tiny countries with their puppets in control, so that they would be able to have weak and debilitated Arab states that could never organize and create any kind of political power for Arabs vis-a-vis the British authorities. So this then leads up to Adolf Hitler, who then creates his agreement, and he starts emigration of Jews out of Germany. This goes on all the way into the war to a certain extent, but it becomes impossible following Allied bombings of the areas. And that was when they began the evacuation of Jews. They evacuated them to these concentration camps. At first, they took them to what were the camps inside of Germany, but later on, they were trying to move as many as they could to camps out of Germany, to Auschwitz, for example, right? So they were moving all of these, hundreds of thousands of Jews out of Germany. This, of course, then is claimed as the basis of extermination. So you had immigration, evacuation, and then the extermination programs.
Were they? Excuse me to interrupt. Were they doing that? Were they doing that to show that there wasn't a Holocaust, so that the German people wouldn't see the horrific signs
You know,
I've heard that before, that they would send them out of the country.
I have like a unique take on it, and I'd have to digress for a while to really explain this. But actually, what was going on is they were moving the Jews out of Germany because they knew they were going to firebomb Germany, and they knew that they were going to bring Stalin was going to bring the Asiatic hordes and murder and rape everyone they could get their hands on. So really, when you see the evacuation of Jews from Germany prior to the firebombing, I think, again, it goes back to what I was talking about earlier about, well, you need interpretive frameworks that are actually logical to history. My take is that it's obvious what they were doing. They were moving the Jews, as many Jews as they could, out of Germany because they wanted to get them away from what was going to be the true Holocaust, which was of the German people. There's actually there's this thing called the Wannsee document, the Wannsee Protocol. Perhaps you've heard of it. It's where the expression "the final solution" is actually written. In the Wannsee document, they talk about how they're going to be moving Jews out of Germany. They suggest maybe Madagascar. In no case do they say they're going to exterminate anybody. They say we're going to move them out. But being a Bible scholar, I can at least assure you, to the extent I'm able, that inside the Wannsee document, there's actually a paragraph that is hilarious, which states sort of typologically, but it's very easy to understand, that what they're really doing by moving the Jews out is they're representing another Babylonian captivity. So the Babylonian captivity, the Jews got let out of Israel. They then were eventually restored, and then a stronger Messianic lineage comes out of it. So some wit has put into the Wannsee document, right in the middle of it, he has this description of how the Jews are going to be able to develop a new lineage and are going to be stronger than ever. And if you know kind of what to look for, typology is sort of a strange language, and you have to spend some time with it to really, have it be easy to understand. But I can give whatever warrant I can. This is it just shows that inside the German command, these are not real Germans. These are not people who are working for the German people's interests.
Okay, man, dude, you are saying stuff that I've been thinking about forever. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Germany, the Nazis did not lose World War II. I think Germany did. I think that occult group into black magic darkness did their job to destroy Europe, to allow America, the United States, to become the lone superpower. Like I like it. Just when you find out that all of these Nazis moved to Canada and didn't even change their names, they just lived out in the open, and like you're not hiding, you're just relocated. Now the question I have for you is: do you think Hitler was a Rothschild?
I don't know. I'd love to have DNA tests on all of the oligarchs. I actually, like people say, well, your position is anti-Semitic. You're opposed to the Jewish idea of history. And I would say, yeah, I am. I don't, it doesn't make any sense to me, but I really don't have any belief that this is a general plot of the Jewish people.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing.
What I see, it's sort of like the mob and Sicily. I mean, you've got like some families that are inside the deal, but the general population is just out in the dark.
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more.
What I've been saying is, look, we don't have a clue, Sam. They don't invite us to the parties, right? We don't get to
Sadly.
go. How do we find out? Well, man, we got to DNA test these guys. We got to see, like, what in the heck is the relationship, the genetic family relationship between, like, the Bush family, the Rockefellers, the Roosevelts, the Rothschilds, the Warburgs. Who in the hell are these people? What is their relationship? I can actually show you that in some instances, the oligarchs are actually laughing at Jews. So they will sacrifice.
I agree with that as well. I just think
sacrifice the common Jew, just like they will
I completely agree with you.
Yeah. So my answer is I don't know. I would say if you want to, like, I mentioned converso, so this might be something that would be of interest or clarifying. There's a poem written by Rudyard Kipling called "The Burden of Jerusalem." It's online. You can go and read it. Now, it's the most racist kind of Gentile-hating poem you can imagine. It talks about the hatred of Israel and how they're going to kill the Jews or the Gentiles, and how the Gentiles will never escape Israel's hate. And it's just vicious racism. And it's written by Kipling, who purportedly is a Presbyterian, but I think is from a converso family, or at least some kind of weird background that he thinks that he's Jewish in some way. But here's the kicker. The letter was found in a sealed like chest or something that was owned by Winston Churchill. And he has a letter exchange with FDR about what a great poem it is, how wonderful the poem is. This is a terrific poem, but he says, we've got to keep this secret. We can't let anybody ever see this poem because this is just not for the common person. So if you get a chance, read The Burden of Jerusalem, and then the accompanying letters between Churchill and Roosevelt. And then you can see that, and bear in mind that Kipling used to vacation with the Rothschilds. He would go with Cecil Rhodes and Rothschild to their estate, to Rhodes' estate in Africa, and they would vacation every summer, the three of them. They would also, during the Boer War, they oversaw the Boer War. They were together in some kind of command post, and there's actually documents talking about how they were bringing information back and forth, and the three of them were just maneuvering the British Army around like puppeteers. So there's something connected between Kipling and the oligarch class. But to identify, and I think this is the critical question that we have. I mean, if you ask me, what am I worried about? What I would like to see done? Sam, I would like to know who in the hell these people are. What is their family? What is their, what is the centrifugal energies keeping this group together? And I'd start with DNA testing. I'd like to know the family relation of every one of these people.
That suggests that you suspect that it is familial relations, genetics that bind them. Do you allow for a possibility that it's something other than that? Perhaps some kind of shared ideology or
I think it's both.
Religion.
I think that they bring people in. If I had to guess, and I can only guess, I think that it starts out in the first century. It starts out basically with, you can always go back to the Dead Sea Scrolls, and you can see basically the formation of what becomes Freemasonry, the tectons, the builders. These are architects. These are the guys in the first century who were of a high intellectual status, and they were responsible for building things like the temple, things like this. So this is an ancient group. I think it becomes a Knights Templar. I think after the diaspora, the Jews weren't permitted to exist as Jews inside of Europe. So they switched identities. They become the Knights Templar. This then eventually morphs into Freemasonry. Along the way, I suspect they bring in other families, there were other relationships, all having to do probably with kind of an awareness of Christianity as something that they wanted to destroy. Christianity was a political force in this era, and they wanted to get rid of it and replace it. They wanted the same status that the Pope and the College of Cardinals had politically during the Middle Ages. They wanted that for themselves. So I think that's the Freemason plan. And I think that to achieve it, I don't know how if they see themselves as Jews or if they see themselves as a mixed race group. I think that you can see that they certainly have the strongest linkage to Jews and to the Jewish religion of any of the Abrahamic traditions. I think that they probably are following the War Scroll theory or presentation from the Dead Sea Scrolls, which talks about a kind of a genocide of all of the people who are not inside God's graces. This final war that they're going to have, and I think that that's sort of the kind of religious and political backdrop to these guys. What their motivation is. So that's as far as I can go. I really, like I've tried every possible way to get inside this group, but I have never been able to achieve much success.
Interesting. I find it very. I like for me, dude. I think it's all sorcery. I think at the highest levels above all these Abrahamics is sorcery, and they just infiltrate these different groups to get them to do their, like, if you go, why did, because there's rumors that they had 3 different locations for possibly doing Israel, right? Like, it was going to be where it is now. There was somewhere in Africa, and then there was a discussion about somewhere in Texas, right? Like, was kind of crazy. But I personally believe, and I would love to hear your opinion on this, that if you study Khazarians, and I'm not necessarily someone who goes, oh, Khazarians are Ashkenazis. I think they could be totally different groups that just all converted to Judaism. We know Khazari existed. We know they converted to Judaism. But if you study Khazarians, they were very much about controlling trade routes. This is how they made a lot of their money way back in the day. And if you take a look at like the geopolitical position of Israel, it is a land bridge, which allows them to control the goods going in and out from Africa and Asia into Europe. And it's like a great way to control the area is to turn it into a religious war and get load one side with all the weapons and have them just control that area, to the point where we have discussions about them wanting to do a new Suez Canal because Egypt is getting all the money and it only goes one way and people are freaking out. So like, that's like $8 billion a year that could be going into Israel if they create their own their own canal that actually goes both ways, not just one way where every 6 hours they got to change it like they do with the Suez Canal, but they actually have one canal like you can go both ways the whole time. So that's, to me, like, how deep, like, for every layer there's a deeper layer, and like, I don't know how deep the layers go. I don't know where the center of this decaying onion goes.
I don't know if you've ever looked at the article I wrote called "The Freemason Invention of the Nazi Party," but I show that it all stems through Helen Blavatsky. And
I'm into this. I want to hear about this. This is what I want to hear.
Okay, well, so Blavatsky was, she's a Freemason. Even though she claims to be this mystic, if you look into her history, actually, she was a mad dog Freemason zealot. She was with Garibaldi in like 1845, something like that. They were fighting the papacy. So Garibaldi had got himself a Freemason army together, and they were having this war with the Pope's army. Blavatsky, they wore the red shirt, right? This was their identification. This becomes the Italian black shirts, but then becomes the Nazi brown shirts. But she was wearing the red shirt, so she's fighting in the battle. She takes a sword wound that nearly severs her arm. She takes 2 rounds. She's got 2 bullet holes in her. She's found at the end of the battle in a ditch. Garibaldi brings her to London with him, and he introduces her to these other high-level Freemasons. And they then give her the task, basically, of creating kind of the mystical backdrop, the paganism that they want to use to implement the Nazi party with. And I show in the article, if you can, it's online, there's no paywall or anything. I say, look, you can see that every single aspect of the Nazi party is coming from the Theosophical Society. I mean, it's not just the swastika, but it's the economic philosophy, it's the money, it's the kind of the concept of the Aryan, it's the anti-Semitism. And this is really kind of, I think, an interesting point. This group brings out the protocols of the elders of Zion. Remember that. They bring out that because, remember, like I was saying, the Jews are comfortable in Europe. They want anti-Semitism to start up. They want it to get going. So they're the group that brings it out. Jolinka, who's Blavatsky's secretary, she magically discovers it. It gets released. Anti-Semitism really takes off with the protocols, really gets going good, particularly in the Russian area. But now here's a little like bonbon that'll amuse you. At some point, they got to get it under control because they don't want anti-Semitism to actually kill too many Jews. If they
right.
So they find the forgery it was based upon. It's found in some like library in Istanbul. Guess who was the guy who found it? Alan Dulles.
What?
Wow.
Alan Dulles just happens to find this guy, and he goes, "Hey, you know, this shows that." But anyway, it's ludicrous, right? So this is just, I mean, it's Blavatsky's secretary who finds it, and Alice Dulles is the one who finds the document it was forged upon. These are just, again, these are the inexplicable things that they give us as history that we have to try to think better, you know, in order to like navigate the world properly. So anyway, then they bring out these kind of German paganism cults following, actually even before World War I, but it really got going after, like the Tool Society. They had this Theosophy. So Theosophy was very strong, but there was the Ariosiphus, you know, the Aryan, the concept of the Aryan comes from Blavatsky. Before her, it was not a concept in German vernacular. She brings it, her group brings it out. They get the race paganism going, and from this comes the group that then brings out Hitler. Now Hitler, you know, if you read the article, you're just going to crack up, because a lot of people see Hitler as this firebrand. You know, he's got this passion, big anti-Semite. You know, he's like a political leader. The guy doesn't have any agency at all. They were looking, what they were looking for, what Ludendorff is the one he was a dictator during World War I. He wanted to like create this kind of race culture in Germany, and which eventually becomes the Nazi Party. He was spent a couple of years looking for a red-haired teenage girl in the Alps to lead Germany. He couldn't find one. He couldn't find anyone he thought was good. So he then asked this guy who's Mayer. He goes, "Do you know anybody who, like, you know, can do this?" And he goes, "Yeah, I know this guy Hitler. He's kind of like a beaten dog, but why don't we give him a shot?" This is how Hitler gets going. Hitler is literally picked by Ludendorff to be the puppet that they want, just like he was the replacement for the red-haired 14-year-old girl that Ludendorff couldn't get a qualified candidate. So this is Hitler. Then they support him. Ludendorff meets with him in prison. They get the whole thing organized. You've got to, if you read the article, you can get into Ludendorff a little bit. But remember, Ludendorff, it isn't just that he somehow oversaw the slaughter of all these millions of Germans during World War I, because World War I is just, let's face it, it's just ramming armies into each other. There's no reason for any of this. It's just depopulation. Ludendorff was one half of this. But
real quick, did you hear any theory that a big part of what World War I was to get the pharmaceutical industry out of Germany and into the United States?
I've never heard that. It's actually a pretty good idea, because pharmaceuticals are clearly going to be a key part of like control going forward.
Yeah.
And they would want it. So I'd have to look at that. The bonbon I was going to throw out was, so Ludendorff, so he's the one who creates Hitler. It's just if you read the primary documents are absolutely clear cut. This is where the guy comes from. But
so that whole him being at a bar and him hyping people up, and that's all.
Bro, it's just so obvious. Like, how about the guy who's like, I had a clear shot on Hitler, and he just walked off the. I mean, like, dude, this is some Paul Bunyan bullshit, bro.
Here's the thing about Ludendorff. This is Ludendorff. You got to remember this. He is the guy, 100%, who inserted Lenin into Russia.
That's what I'm saying, dude. That's what I'm saying.
This was his other contribution to civilization. He inserted
same guy.
He's the one who actually got Lenin into the SEAL train, got him sent with money into Russia. He's the one who did it. And he's also the same guy who just happened to be the one to get Hitler picked out. And we're going to put him into Germany. Again, you have history is completely inexplicable as they give it to us. You've got to like come up with frameworks to make sense of all this, you know? And so I just see World War I as 100%, they were depopulating Europe. This is what these guys want to do. They want to depopulate Europe. There is no rationale for the war. It's just automatic weapons had been invented, and so they were going to take the European males and push them into each other. They weakened the continent to the extent now that they could bring in Hitler and basically finish the job. You know, this was what World War II was about. And if you look at World War I as a template, basically for World War II, it was completely Masonic. All of the British generals are known to have been Masons. The king was, of course, a Mason, and Wilhelm, the German emperor, he was the first cousin of the British king. I mean, they were both grandchildren of Victoria, right? So this is all just a wired inside job to reduce the population of Europe. Then when you get to World War II, it's just they are the Freemason concept of what they're trying to do is they want to recreate the first century except reverse it. They want to, instead of the diaspora, the Jews will go back to Israel. Instead of the Romans winning and destroying the Jewish race, the European race will be destroyed. You see, so this is all that's going on there. It's just they're trying to reverse the first century. And I think that that Freemasonry, and I don't know this for a fact, but I would just assume that at the top level, the oaths that they give, the oaths that they take, are all related to this project. In other words, not at the lower levels where like Uncle, Milton and all of our people we know.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I totally agree. Like,
and it's like they take oaths and they're saying, you want in, you want the high level. But it's like you were saying, Sam, you don't get to come in a trivial way. If you come in, you got to come in all the way. If you read the Catcher in the Rye article, I say, look, the reason why the guy who shot Lenin is reading the book is because the book is a warning. If you read the last page of it, it's just a flat out warning. Anybody who speaks up against Freemason, we're going to kill. And that's why the guy is reading The Catcher in the Rye, sitting there with when Lenin's being taken away to the hospital, because he's just telling all the other Masons, he's going, hey, you see what happened to Lenin here? This is what the oaths are about.
Oh,
Lenin had the interview in Playboy, and he goes, I don't want to be a craftsman anymore. I like craftsmen, but I don't want to be one. Well, wait a second, dude. You are in for life. You cannot not be a craftsman.
Wow.
He was saying, I don't want to be a craftsman. I don't want to be a craftsman any longer. No, John, you don't get to make this, these kind of statements. So that's why that's why the guy's he's holding the book. If you read the Freemason in the Rye, the article I wrote, I show, man, this is
where are these articles? Are they on your website?
They're assembled at post Flaviana. The Flavians create Christianity by my theory. So post Flaviana is everything that happens after.
How do you spell that? Post
right there. Right there,
post
Sam.
Flaviana, and
Right
that's there. So that's like a useful article on the Brave New World, which explains what the concept means. Why the people use the concept. But at the site, if you Google like Atwill Catcher in the Rye, I think it'll pop right up where you'll get to see at the end of it. I show this is the ending of the Catcher in the Rye, which incidentally is a mirror of the ending of Huckleberry Finn, where Mark Twain, the Freemason, makes the exact same statement. He goes, if you say a word about our organization, you will be cut to ribbons. We will shred your skin, And so now with like Huck Finn and Twain, it's like they're talking about when will the initiation happen? When are we going to do this? They don't mention Freemasonry, but man, if you are a Mason, and of course, Mark Twain is one of the biggest Freemasons there is. You know what he's talking about. And so that's why you get, things like, what's his name? Forget his name, but Lenin's assassin.
Mark David Chapman.
Yeah, right. He's holding the Catcher in the Rye. It's just telling people, hey, keep your mouth shut. Because, man, one thing they're good at is not talking about what they're doing. They make like little cryptic films, again, you'd have to kind of decode them typologically, but like the great Lebowski or Fight Club. These things are just ways for the Masons to represent their understanding of the world, but in a cryptic way. And this goes back to, if you read like Caesar's Messiah, I talk about the Gospels. What are the Gospels about? Well, in fact, there's a lot of Caesar vanity. It's the vanity of the Caesars that is driving this kind of cryptic literature where there's a meaning, but you've got to be kind of smart and figure out these little puzzles and things, and then you can understand it. The hoi polloi cannot understand it. So that's why our literature is one of the ways that we just have been wrecked intellectually, because it is designed to hurt us. I mean, I don't know what I can recommend, for young people to read, but it isn't the top 100 list in the libraries, because so much of that is just propaganda. They create their understanding of the world, and then we just, it gets into our mind, and the next thing like the Holocaust looks like it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense if you look at it analytically. Like one thing I usually mention when people, they go, well, why don't you, there's all this eyewitness testimony. I go, look, there was horrible things, and I'm sure million Jews died. But when you get to like this gas chamber thing, look at what they claim. Just look what they claim. The actual.
Yeah, I agree with you. It happened. It had to happen because this is how they're able to just openly get into Israel, right?
Well, the idea that it happened has to exist, but the fact of the extermination camps, like with the gas chambers, man, I don't know. You look at the confession of Heuss, he's the guy who actually did it, and he says, well, Himmler told me to do it, even though I wasn't really in his direct chain of command. He didn't know who I was, but he didn't tell me how to do it. He just says, you've got to exterminate all the Jews, a million of them. He doesn't tell me how to do it. I don't know how to do it. I was thinking about like carbon gas from an automobile, but that didn't seem too good. But I'm wandering around the camp, and lo and behold, I look down and there's Zyklon B. Well, mate, I'll try this. There you go. I'll try this. So he claimed.
Sad, man. It's just so like what human beings could do to each other.
If they were going to do an extermination program, I guarantee you they would have it worked out like down to a gnat's eyebrow.
Just so sad, man. It just really is sad. Like what this predator class does to humanity. It's all this dark energy, this whatever at the base of their belief system, Freemasonry, at the highest levels is their desire to like disconnect everybody from God and whatever your belief is.
Oh, 100%. This is exactly what they want to do. They want to isolate from your religion, isolate the sexes. Look at the
100%, bro. It's divide and conquer. It's an old, and then you look into Joe, like how like all these holy books get manipulated like at some point. Like you have the Torah, and then I'll know where comes the Talmud. You like you have people going, there's only one Quran, and then you have people go, no, there's like they've rewritten this thing too. And then the Bible is like, I've had friends of mine come up to me and go, dude, look, this line's no longer in the Bible, this line's no longer in the Bible, that line's no longer in the Bible. And it's just like, it's just a manipulation to get you to detach from God.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
whatever created us,
Yeah. I mean, the Shakespearean literature, even though, it certainly hasn't been understood, but it is exactly that. And that's why I don't recommend people read it. You can read it if you are skeptical of what it means, but if you just read it in a naive state, you end up just seeing all of the slaughter and carnage, and the Christians are made fun of, and it's just it is not good for your head, and the literature is designed to be that way. Just like they use kind of thought suggestions. There's hundreds of examples of this, but I could give a few if you're curious. But the thing is, we just what to do. Develop skepticism. If you look at what the media is giving us, without skepticism, you are very vulnerable.
Yes.
It's into your mind, even if you not necessarily agree with it. You know, look at the nudge technology that Facebook and Google and these guys have, where they figure out, you know, what your political interests are, where you are right now, and then they can move you just by how they manipulate the feeds that come to you. They know they can give you this guy because he's close to this other guy you like. And then once they get you here and they see you're reading it, then they can move you a little bit further. The nudge technology on Facebook is exactly what our literature and our history is all together, you know?
I agree with that. You know, I've talked here that like these adult film sites are there to do the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like there's a reason why they give it to you for free because they want you to consume it. When something's free, you're the product. So you go there, you want to watch your favorite act. And then on the side here is all this kind of going down deeper into debauchery. And the next thing you're like, what am I watching? How did I get here?
Mhm.
Well, it's done to nudge you that way slowly, slowly, slowly. And what also people don't understand, we talk about this on the show all the time, is that like, just imagine if let's say you had somebody that helps you with housekeeping, right? You're blessed enough to have a housekeeper, and these powers that be want to manipulate you and your reality. So this housekeeper every day, slowly but slowly, manipulates everything in your house, one little thing at a time. Not enough for to be like, dude, why is that like that? But just enough. So every time you accept where it is that time, next day it's a little farther, a little farther, a little farther. Now everything in your house is completely different. It's not what you wanted. It's not how you intended it. It's meant to be just off. That to me is what these dark arts, secret society groups have been doing over time. And when, like, you know, I have people want me to come on their show and debate this and debate that and all that stuff and discuss this. You know, and you like, if you had this conversation with some of my friends, they wouldn't have a clue what you're talking. Like, this is the equivalent of the most highest level of jujitsu. Like, to try to explain to people this stuff this is why I'm glad you're on this show, is because this show is often, I've always said, is the training wheels.
Yeah, really, I don't want to like smooch up here, but you guys are really to be praised, all of you. Honest to God. I mean, if you look at our history for 2,000 years, we are just screwed, right? Just screwed from the dark ages on to now. And finally, there is this capacity, right, for normal people to exchange information. The stuff you guys do is terrific. I listen to like your stuff, and I just think, you know, to use an expression, Godspeed, dudes. I mean, this is like, you know, whatever I can do to support it, let me know.
No, I love, hey, dude, you're crushing it.
When the future gets short, you know, you have a different perspective. And I just really, whatever I could do to help you guys, I would just do, you know.
Well, I love it, you know, and I appreciate it. And you know, being somebody who's obviously done a ton of research, and for you to say things that I've been thinking for a long time, you know, that like just kind of confirms my gut reaction, which is how I just feel. It's just a feel, but I really like it, you know. And again, it's like from the beginning here, this, you know, I've had a real, because to me, it's like, if it's low hanging fruit, it's probably not the center of power. And I think, like, you know, we've had people come on here and yelling about Jews and Jews world. I just think it's too easy. It's just too easy. And if you know who's running
level Freemasons, it's like a concentric rings, and they defend themselves by having people around them that are deflecting, right? So you don't like Jews, so there's your answer. It's sort of like, to me, it's like, well, like what happened, like the vaccine mandates, who's producing this stuff? And they go, well, it's the deep state. Well, what is the deep state? Who are the deep state? When you use what these are cul-de-sacs. These are zones that are designed to keep us in little intellectual circles and not what we need to be doing, which is going straight to the identity of the people who are doing this damage to us. I mean, we got to get right to their face. And when you get concepts like, you know, deep state, you're not going anywhere. you've hit the cul-de-sac. This is like laid out for you. And they have all these clever like mind tricks. I don't know if you guys can do it. I was just thinking of like something that'd be fun to see. Can you guys pull up Life magazine, May 1957? Do you have that technical ability? Because
we do.
An example, the cover of it is
Life magazine 19 what?
May 1957. You should see like the guy who played the lion and some messianic palms. The cover of it is it's Gordon Wasson. Okay, yeah, this is it. If you can make that large, the May 57 with Bert Lard. Okay. Now if you just make that a little bit bigger, I can show you. Like, okay, guys, now look at this. All right, now go scroll it down. Okay, so it says Great Adventures. Scroll down just so that I can see the top of it. You need to be able to see the top.
Right there.
A little black. Okay, now look, it goes Great Adventures, the discovery of mushrooms that cause strange visions. Okay, now that is Gordon Wasson's MK Ultra funded trip to discover the magic mushroom. Okay, now that if you read the article, it's just this ludicrous how he's going to find God. He discovers the magic mushrooms. This is 1957. So this is the beginning of the counterculture. This is MK Ultra. That's who funded this program. This is being funded by MK Ultra. Okay, guys. Now remember, 10 years from now, you're going to see this, like the drugs and stuff are going to come forward. Just go back to the screen and then read the next article that they had. Can you bring it back one more time?
Yeah.
Okay, just bring it back one. Okay, scroll down. Okay, now look at what the next article in the black.
Yeah, go up.
Yeah, go up. Okay, teenage allowances. Oh my gosh, think about Woodstock. So you see, they're planting the seed. Do you see what they're doing here?
I mean, totally agree with that. Listen, if you take a look at
allow the teenagers to take the mushrooms. So they're trying to attack the subconscious.
No, you're 100% correct. That is just plants a seed. Allow the teenagers to do that.
There it is. There's the magic. There's the hocus pocus that they use to like keep us as sheep.
I agree. So Joe, if you take a look at the Haight-Ashbury during the height of its power, I mean, it's so funny. It's like everyone's like, San Francisco's really gone to shit. It's like, what did the intelligence agencies just abandon it? Like it's some kind of outhouse now that they don't care about anymore. Like it's ran service. But if you take a look at like what they were running back then, with Charles Manson and all those people in the like everything's data, by the way. It's just like how much data can we get on people? So we have these kind of like free clinics where these hippies who do drugs all the day can come in and get free medical. They just got to tell them what's going on in their life. And what are they pushing? They're pushing two things: speed, crystal meth, and they're pushing acid. Now let's fast forward to the tech world. What is everybody on? They're all micro dosing and they're all doing Adderall.
Sam, look, bear in mind that the personal computer is getting developed at this exact time. And it is being developed by technical people who are living in Silicon Valley on Perry Lane and the house right next to where the Grateful Dead and Jack Kerouac and all of the counterculture guys are all living, Perry Lane. And Brand is who's going to write the Whole Earth catalog, whatever it's called, which is like the 10. He's also working on the personal computer, except when he's on the bus with Ken Kesey driving around giving LSD to people. They want the drug, like state, and then they put the iPhone, they slip the iPhone into your pocket. And now what do they got? They have got they're starting to get toward complete domination of your soul, with the pornography in the iPhone, with the drugs.
I agree, dude.
And it's all getting developed at that exact time. The first people to ever use the internet to actually exchange information were the Grateful Dead. They were the ones, the MK Ultra band. What? Yeah, they were the ones who when they actually got the HTTP to work, they got a little group, and lo and behold, it's the Grateful Dead. They're the ones who are first exchanging a little information back and forth, and you know, you get to see the development of what becomes Facebook. You know, yeah. So they've always worked both sides of the street. You know, they
Okay,
work.
hold on. You said something extraordinary.
Read that right there.
So you're saying before we're tech pioneers?
That just makes me laugh so hard can't even sit in my chair.
Yeah, and then they were the house band of the guy who made the CIA acid.
Sure. Yeah, and they were, look, they when they asked Hank, what's his name, is the father of Courtney Love, who was the band manager for the Grateful Dead, and he goes, I wrote an article about this. It's at Post Flaviana. I go, look, all of the Grateful Dead's handbills, even when they were the Warlocks, before they became the Grateful Dead,
It's all Warlocks, bro.
Yeah, there you go. It's all Freemason symbol. It's so obvious that some person asked this guy, I forget his name, Hank something. He was Courtney Love's dad. They go, why are all of the Grateful Dead's symbols in these handbills Freemasonry? And he goes, well, that's easy to answer. We're all Freemasons.
Yeah.
No, he just flats out say, he goes, yeah, it's because we're all Freemasons. Hey, it's a big deal, you know? And so this is, you know, it's just troubling these symbolic links, you know, into secret societies that are always appearing whenever you get something that then becomes a power in the media, a power in our mind, you know? It wasn't until the internet, which is designed to absolutely be the last nail in the coffin, got loose to people who are able to have, you know, resistance to it, that mankind ever had a chance. You know,
you think it got away from them? We've said that a lot. You think the internet got away from them?
I don't think. I mean, I actually would go so far to say that the COVID thing was ham-handed. They're worried about
ham-handed. What does that mean?
Well, in other words, they couldn't use their normal incrementalism to try to create really draconian social control, because they were afraid that there's just too much like resistance developing on vis-a-vis the internet.
Joe, is it possible that it was, sorry to cut you off, is it because I literally tweeted, is it possible, like, I don't think, okay, let me just say this without saying his name, but is it possible it rolled out too quickly for them, that
it was ham-handed? They normally do this stuff look at the counterculture, look at the Nazi party. These guys are experts in slow motion introduction,
slow rollout.
They do it precisely so that you do not have resistance. They hit us with the vaccine mandates and all of the lockdowns, and I think they were trying to see if they could find a way to get control over, you know, just the systems of how to make us behave more you know, obediently, but it didn't work. And that's why the whole thing kind of fell apart, then just sort of disappeared, because it's what I call diminishing returns, where their propaganda starts working against them. And they'd never had this problem before, but now too many people have heard shows like yours. And this is why I always say, guys, you may think that, you know, like, gee, you know, like how many people are listening to us, what influence we're really having. Man, look at it through my eyes. Look at it from someone my age, or someone who's like looked at this thing going back to Christianity, the origins of it. Man, you have such a unique and powerful role. It's just, words cannot describe it. This is just absolutely unique. And I mean, they cannot put it back in the bottle. You notice that nobody that ever understands you guys ever goes backwards. No one ever goes backwards and they go, oh, you know, I think I'm going to go back and like just be like a Republican Party member and work for Trump now, you know, or Biden. They don't care. When they get to the point where they can understand what you're saying, they've lost them forever. So that means that they are in a process of losing control. They only need a few more iterations of what's going on now on the internet. And if they rolled out the vaccines, the people who were trying to get that stuff done would be shot, because the public would have too much awareness and power. So this is the moment for us, you know. It all depends on the energy and just the forcefulness of people like yourself. You know what you're doing. You're absolutely right in your understanding of the world, and you just have to have the confidence and energy to move forward and take over, because you have the right of self-defense, right? They are trying to murder us. They've been murdering us by the hundreds of millions going back to the first century, man. And for one, I'm sick of it. My grandfather was pushed over the top at the Somme, and he was hit by mustard gas, and he died 40 years later in my bedroom of lung cancer after having been like sick his entire life. That's my first kind of awareness of the world. It was my grandfather's death, which was attributed to the Battle of the Somme, where they lost 60,000 men in an afternoon in a battle that had absolutely no military significance. It's just depopulation. So guys, when I say they are just murdering us, right? This is the truth. I just hope you remember that, because I know it, but it's difficult. The stuff you do, to keep, trying to work through this. It's hard. I can only, just offer my support and just say, you guys are on the right track, and I just hope you are the future.
Joe woke up today and chose violence. This was an awesome episode.
Can I ask him one question before we let him go?
Yeah, of course.
Hey, Joe, are you a flat earther? Do you believe in the flat earth? Are they messing with that part of the world as well? Or
dude, I'm not a flat earther, and I'll tell you the truth. At 74, it's a little hard to like change perspectives. I think I've seen too many globes in my life to like really be able to answer it. Honestly, I try to avoid anything that isn't essential. You know what I mean? I just from energy level, I just want to be involved in the material and kind of whatever I can do in terms of like analysis that can be useful for you guys. There is nothing else I have in my life. I got nothing else, really. I'm well off. I'm very financially well off. Everything is good in my life. There's nothing bad. The only thing that moves me, that motivates me, is what can I do to help you guys? That's it. And frankly, the flat Earth and all of the other, these things, I don't know. I mean, they're interesting, curious. Do viruses exist? I don't know. But I don't put any time into it, man. I want to find things that you guys can use with the public to increase skepticism. That's it.
I briefly, before you go, you hit on something of intense interest to me. Speaking of Mark David Chapman, were you suggesting that he was brainwashed into doing that, or that he is actually a Freemason? I wasn't clear on that point.
No, I don't think they could their brainwash isn't that good. He has to have been given the task.
Okay.
Their brainwashing is good, but it's not that good. No, he was just tasked with
at that time, or because there's part of me that thinks that they got stuff right now where they can just put out some kind of like energy that just like if you catch it, it convinces you to do crazy shit if you're on these certain pharmaceuticals.
It's just not articulate enough. I don't believe they have stuff that they could say, okay, you're going to be at this point with Catcher in the Rye, you're going to shoot Lenin. That has to be volition, and I think probably it's just Chapman probably did something wrong, and they told him, "Here's the penance. You have to do this, and we'll take care of you in prison, but you got to do this." Wow. That wasn't the only time that the book has been used that way. That book, if you read the article, you'll see it pops up with a lot of assassinations. They somehow have the book, and just if you read the Freemason in the Rye, and just go to the last page where I show the ending of the book and I compare it to the Mark Twain ending, and I say, look, you can just see this is obviously a warning to keep your mouth shut that Freemasonry is giving to its members. I think it's pretty straightforward what's happening there with Chapman and Lenin, and I'm pretty sure Chapman is like a Mason, and I would imagine he was just given this as probably because he had to make up for something he did.
You hit on something there also. Sorry, just briefly, John Hinckley. Then what's the message with his association with Catcher in the Rye? Would you say, John Hinckley,
with the shooting of
the Reagan shooting? Yeah.
Well,
Reagan
that
should-
was easy, dude.
But I mean, what are we? Is Reagan? Did he go against the Freemasons?
You know,
would assume he was.
that's a good question, and I can't really answer it. I can conjecture that the thing was fake, that Reagan wasn't actually shot, and that it was just done as kind of a theatrical production. In fact, I'm not even sure Lenin was shot. The thing is, what is given to the public is the book. You have the assassination of a famous person, and here's the book. Now that is a message to Masons. You see, it doesn't, whether or not the theater was real. I mean, I don't think that's relevant. It's that what's important is it's the magic, like Sam says. The magic is, hey, famous person got shot, and gee, there's Freemason. I mean, there's a catcher in the rye. I mean, do you guys know what a catcher in the rye is? What that is?
Yeah, it's an Indian that catches the dreams, right?
Yeah, no, it's the Grim Reaper.
Oh,
That's they think of the scythe, you know, in the fields of wheat. Yeah, that's the catcher in the rye.
Yeah.
So it's the apocalypse. That's you know, it's the magic, you know. Holden Caulfield is there, and the kids are on the horses, and he's got his shooting hat on, and you don't know really what he's doing. You have to the magic kind of has to set in, and you have to. Well, he's probably killing the kids, you know. Kind of
yeah. Now you say possibly Lennon. I'm sorry, this is again just a really interesting subject for me. John Lennon might not have been shot. Do you address that in the article? Because I'll read it if you do. If not, I would love. I mean, I'm going to read it anyway. But what I mean is, if you don't, I'd love to hear you address
I get it.
I don't go in, and I don't have even. I mean, I know that there's some theories about this, but this would go, Johnny, to my point about like. That would be to me like I just don't have the energy for that.
Understood. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Because I'm more interested in the big magic picture of the book, what it would mean to Masons, how it's understood by them, and then what I would call the theatrical production.
I just didn't know if some evidence had led you to that.
No, I don't have any evidence.
Okay.
In fact, you know, I'm like an evidence-free theorist. I sit here in my living room, you know, and I have all my books, you know, and I can read languages and stuff. But because again, like I was saying, I really don't. I think we know more about the future than about history. I'm more interested in kind of the logic that we can come together with and help one another. Socratic method, you know, where we help each other to understand our moment. You know, that's what, because history. I mean, how are you ever going to like? You can kind of understand World War I on the broad scale, but you can't really go back into the minds of the individuals, you know, as to like how they're set up. I mean, I don't know.
Understanding the moment has become nearly impossible when you see. I mean, daily we were assaulted by just completely fabricated images and stories that spread like wildfire before the first person is like, oh, wait a minute, this is some guy made this up. You know,
totally deliberate. You know, you as soon as they wanted to pull the plug on the mandates, they hit you with you know, the monkeypox and then the Ukrainian war, and it's just one apocalyptic event after another, and then they back it up with crazed kind of typology like Leave the World Behind. I don't know if you saw that movie, but
just anxiety,
absolutely insane. You know, destruction of like any kind of sense of normality and peace. I mean, it's just, they're just on top of us, one event after another. And we have to keep our balance, which I think to start, one of the things is I don't read it. Look, I you know what I do with my time? I watch you guys. This is what I do. I mean, honestly, I don't watch much TV. I never watch mainstream news. People talk about things in the supermarket, I've never even heard of them, you know? But I know what you guys are saying. That's what's interesting to me. And so that's the thing. We are a group. We are an energy, and we're creating our own magic, you know, as we go forward. You know?
I know.
I love it. I think it's great. Final question. You know, everything is like 50D chest or whatever. You know, I support the Palestinians not to be genocide. Okay. So now, you know, and I saw a lot of people talking about how they felt this pro-Palestinian rallies were BLM. And at first I really pushed back against that. But lately I've been starting to think that part of these giant rallies that somehow just happen everywhere, organized really well, are are actually doing more damage to the Palestinians than good. Like if you're stopping somebody from getting to their flight at the airport, like how does that help the Palestinians?
Well, how does Hamas attacking, the LSD crazed rave dancers help the Palestinians, right?
Right.
So we already have the theme, the meme of the events are being portrayed as basically for the Palestinians, but the fact is the real effect of them is the exact opposite. It's like, I mean, I like the way you kind of use the term magic in this regard. I mean, it's the black magic of they know that people are concerned about the Palestinians being genocided. And so to subvert it, to like move the energy in a different direction, they organize a Palestinian protest that closes an airport. Well, that's a great idea, right? That's going to really get a lot of. So look, the world is infested, tip to stern, with the secret societies, propaganda and theatrical events. What do we have to work our way through it? We have our reasoned, like Sam, your understanding of those events as, well, wait a second, this is actually damaging. That's, to me, that is exactly what the public needs to be. The moment where you had that thought, you have been, in my mind, you are now outside of the magic. You are now back with us in the world where we're exchanging information and it's real. But you have to be skeptical to get there. The people, like a lot of people are swept up by the pro-Palestinian thing and they just blindly follow leaders. I mean, I'm old. I've seen this, man. I went through the counterculture. I was at the rock festivals, I mean, I was at the protests. I've seen, how people can be swept up by these emotions, as the idea that we're helping someone here. We're not. We are being controlled. We are going to damage how what is important about our movement is perceived by the general public. But we never think of those things when we're there under their control, So I'm not for those kinds of demonstrations. I think they have exactly the opposite effect, and I think they are designed to hurt the Palestinians. The Palestinians are in real trouble. Well, the few of them that are left, and you're not going to. These kinds of protests are, I think, going in the wrong direction. They should. You know what they should do, Sam, is just listen to your bloody show. Yeah. That's what they should do. It's like if they would listen to the shows you've done on it, the public would have 1,000 times better and more articulated and understanding of the situation and be able to do good stuff. So that's what we need is the information. It's not the public event, the theater.
As someone who enjoyed rock and roll, has your knowledge now of how it was created ruined it for you, or can you still enjoy the music?
I don't listen to it, and I can't enjoy it. I understand it now as mind control. They brought it in they wanted to heighten sexuality. That this was going to be the primary tool. It's basically pornography, a backbeat to pornography. They were, the Beatles leading to the Rolling Stones, and then God knows,
well, Elvis started it too.
Sure, Elvis was part of it. Yeah. And so this was the incrementalism. You can really see it with music. They took music that they thought was sexualized, and then they were going to eventually merge that into real pornography, right? But that was back in the 1940s. You had this solid, kind of Christian culture, family, ethnic pride, these things. How do you shatter it? Well, I want to hold your hand. That's the first step. It's these little tiny incremental, things. And so you have the Beatles. They're so cute. Their hair is a little long, so they're kind of different. They're sort of taking us out of our normal culture, but everything is fine. And then, you end up at Woodstock. And well, what happened? So it's just they have to do these things incrementally, and that's why I hated it because I really liked. I loved rhythm and blues, and then when I was a kid, I liked drugs. But it was just a horrendous. It was a horrendous mistake, and the decade that I lost set me back dramatically in my life. I'm very lucky that I was able to get back into a situation where I could have a family, children and a house and things like this. and it took a lot of luck for me to be able to achieve that, because the decade that I really needed to be kind of trying to focus on it, it was taken from me. I was a victim. I don't like to present myself as a victim, but that I would say that's just an honest fact. I got into drugs, and that doesn't lead you, to a productive, happy life. It just doesn't.
I agree, dude. I agree. Joe, you came, you saw, you dropped the hammer of the gods. Joe, you took a shot at the Mount Crushmore. You took a shot at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Today I choose violence, and I went on that mountain. So thank you for coming out.
Listen, pleasure's all mine, guys. If I can ever help in any way, let me know. And if you ever need me back as a guest, I'm 100% available. Just let me know.
We'll tell Mark to make it happen. His podcast is called Our Interesting Time. He's a guest on it constantly with Timothy Kelly, who's been on the show before, I believe, way back in the day. We got to get Tim back on. And yeah, man, we appreciate it. All his links are below.
Listen, guys, thank you for your good work.
Anytime.
Believe me, as someone in my position, it's just it warms my heart to see you guys doing what you do. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you, Joe. Guys, thank you so much. Stay tuned stay tuned for our breakdown of this episode and some highlights from my other shows. Enjoy the breakdown. Guys.
See ya.
Goodbye.
Later. Bye. Thank you.
He just took off. I just wanted to tell him great job. It's so funny when they just take off. Okay. Yeah, dude. What'd you guys think?
Wow.
Like, that was dangerous conversations, bro. Dangerous conversations.
You get the sense too that guy, he can talk extemporaneously like that all day. You know what I mean?
You could just hey, welcome, Joe, and then 3 hours later, it's you're like, can I ask a question? But I mean that in a loving way. I don't want.
Oh no, I love that.
Him.
Yeah, that was a compliment.
I'm gonna tell you, man, that was one of the best shows we've ever had. So I enjoyed it. It was a very deep conversation, and it was like probably the most black belt of black belt conversations you can have right now.
But done completely right. He did it right. He didn't say anything too crazy. Like, we've had moments where I'm like, whoa, and I'll text John and be like, yo, that was crazy. Not once. He played it right. Everything was done right.
Yeah, I mean, I really do believe this, dude, that it's just like sometimes you wonder how people can live in the world knowing everything that he knows, right? It's like, can you function in society?
Yeah, that's why I asked him about the rock and roll thing, because I was like, dude, did it just ruin it for you? And he's like, yeah, it did.
Well, I mean, I want to be honest with you. It's really hard for me to watch a TV show now because I know how the hot dogs are made. And I've lost all respect for it.
I just found out what that whole happened, the whole controversy between the Cowboys, how it seemed like it was rigged. How do you still watch football knowing that guy wasn't in or out?
Dude, how do I watch basketball knowing that the NBA is completely conspiring to get the Lakers into the playoffs? The last two games I just love basketball. And it's like Eddie Bravo says, when it comes to football, he just turns it off and has to watch. But the last two games about the Lakers, they were on a giant slide and they just won 2 in a row. And the coach of the Clippers, who's good friends with LeBron James, sits our star player in the fourth quarter. So that what? Yeah. And then the next game, the Lakers shoot 23 foul shots in the last quarter. Like, what are you talking about? And they go on the win. It's just sad. And Adam Silver is too, for a guy who's done some smart stuff, he does such stupid shit too. But going back, yeah, man, it's really hard. The whole thing with the Golden Globes, everyone losing their mind. Who gives a shit? The Golden Globes should be about as important as the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards. It is just a giant fraud where these foreign press people just want to hobnob with these famous people. And the only reason the famous people do it because they can ask for more money if they win a stupid ass award. It's just dumb. Who cares? All of it is just dumb. Now, the problem with that is that there's actually very talented people who do good work that just gets lost. But yeah, I mean, dude, everything that Joe talked about, I've thought about in my head, and it was really great to hear somebody talk about it. It's just there's so much layers to this stuff, and it just lines up. It just lines up. You know, I wish I would have asked him if he thought Hitler died in Argentina. 'Cause I really did.
yeah. I was
Yeah.
telling Mark that, texting him, like, there's so much we didn't get to that I would love to ask too, like, because the guy's just got, he's a font of knowledge.
Yeah, and it's just like, what does he have to lose at that point? You know, like I don't understand it. Like it's just like it's just everything is just it's everything. I loved it. I loved that episode. I love that. Because I've been talking about this. Like the Freemasons, I know a lot of Freemasons. They don't run shit, right? It's like at the highest levels. It's these, it's these Illuminati royals that run everything. And they just use the lower level Freemasons to run interference. It's same thing with Jews, man. It's just like when it's like when you get into like, did the Freemasons create Zionism? That is like insane question. And it's like, yeah, it did. And that's how like it's all funded. That's what I'm telling you about these fucking these Palestinian protests. You know how hard it is to get anybody to show up to anything? Like,
no, it's so hard.
It's so hard. Now you got thousands of people just randomly show up at one moment, and you think that just happened naturally? Like, think about Bert Kreischer, dude. Like, how long it took Bert Kreischer to get where he is?
So then, do you remember when we did?
Now he gets 1,000 people to show up to a show. Like that took forever to get to that. Now you have this situation that just popped off 3 months ago, and now suddenly everywhere these people just show up out of nowhere. Like you don't think there's an invisible hand creating this event?
So do you remember when we did the children's protest? Do you think a lot of those people were sent in? Or because I remember being there, and even you were like, "Holy shit, that's a lot of people." And I was like, "Yo, this is a lot of fucking people."
That's a great question, and there was a big push by a lot of people to say it was infiltrated, and probably there was. I know myself and the other guy had pure intentions. I showed up because, what everybody's talking about right now in Hollywood, these pedophiles. Jim Gaffigan doing pedophile jokes now about Hollywood.
Really?
Did you see that in the Golden Globes?
Wait, no, I don't watch the Globes. No.
Yeah, he did a joke about how he doesn't understand how he's here right now. He's from a small town in Indiana, and he's not a pedophile.
Oh, he was attacking. I thought you meant he was doing like the jokes that you'd have problems with.
No. He's like going after them.
Got it. What was he doing there? Was he giving out an award or something?
Yeah, he was basically introducing an award.
Do you think Cat Williams is gonna maybe kill himself, or hashtag Cat Williams didn't kill himself? What do you think about all that?
No.
You think that's all?
No, the crazy thing is how like all these people are like, I choose not to respond. You're like, okay, dude, that's not a good response to that. It's like Steve Harvey's like, I ain't gonna say nothing.
But would you say Jimmy Kimmel's done himself favors by his response? No.
Well, I think you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, right?
You're screwed, yeah. But I mean, I think Kimmel might almost be worse because that thing went around and around and around the news cycle. And the people who are denying it really, it's just like.
Do you see how like the ESPN has decided that Aaron Rodgers isn't coming back next year?
Oh, really?
For his to do McAfee's show.
Wow.
That what, he's banned now or something?
Yeah, they don't want him back next year. I guarantee you McAfee won't be there long. I just think he's just too wild of a tiger for ESPN. And it's like so funny because people love that show.
Oh, you're right. Here it is. Aaron Rodgers is done as a guest on Pat McAfee's ESPN show for the remainder of the NFL season. Well, that's not too long. Here's what McAfee said. So Aaron Rodgers Tuesday, season 4 is done. He told the audience there could be a lot of people that are happy with that, myself included, to be honest with you. The way it ended, it got real loud, he said.
It's like good for him though, dude. Good for him. Good
Rodgers,
for him.
yeah.
Good for Rodgers. You made your money. Get the fuck in. Get the fuck out.
Yeah, I mean, he's got some balls on him too, doesn't he? I mean, I mean, that takes him. He's got so much. He has a lot to lose, and the people he knows. The people he's messing with are people who can take it from him.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So props to him for that.
Right.
Right.
So I loved it, man. I thought it was a great episode. I'm getting a lot of shit on the internet right now saying they rolled out the vaccine quicker than they wanted to. Oh, you're a Trump Q-tard. I'm like, I'm not. I just think it got rolled out faster than they wanted.
Oh, what do you? You see, I haven't even heard that. What do you mean by that? Because I thought the idea was that they don't.
Said it was going to be the 5 to 10 year process. I think it got rolled out quicker than they wanted. They wanted to slow roll it out, get all of our rights as they roll it out. They want it to be like, dude, it comes out in 2020. Guess what's coming out in 10 years later is what? 2030. We know 2030 is a big fucking day for them, a big year for them. It's called the 2030 Project, right?
It does fit the timeline. I remember early on in the pandemic, the news was all about saying like vaccines take a long time to research and it'll be years before we have an effective vaccine. Yeah.
So what you mean? So what you mean is that they wanted us locked up in our homes for another year, at least.
Yeah, they wanted us to be like under control for 10 years.
As in locked in the house, as in you can't go out to concerts, none of that.
Yeah.
I don't think there's no way we would have.
Well, yeah, I think that they were surprised at how much
pushback.
Yeah. I mean, there was resistance to that for sure. So they
probably if they could have, I really do think they would have. I mean, look at California. They pushed it as long as they fucking could over here.
Oh, it would be have you heard any more about them bringing the restrictions back, Sam? Because I know we kind of heard that for.
I keep like they tried to bring back masks and this is what they do. They through the data they try to figure out where's the place that will accept these things, right? So they try to steamroll it in, and when it gets rejected, they just keep checking the data. Okay, there's a bunch of retards over here. So let's see if these retards will fall for it. Yeah. Oh no, there's a retard This is a pack of retards over here. So
yeah, they'll start off with the airport because they'll take a right. Oh, you can't fly if you don't put a mask on, and at that point,
bro,
you're like,
they are pushing. They are pushing. The don't fly stuff right now really bad. Yeah.
I've had some bad experiences recently too.
A
mess. I mean, it's clear that they have. If you sit for any extended period in an airport, it's clear that they intentionally have a bunch of flights taking off at once, and then periods of like just empty time, even at airports that aren't that crowded, to make it seem crowded when it's not really at different points, just to make it miserable.
I totally agree.
Because like I talked to the TSA guy the other day, and I happened to get there in one of those down periods because I was really late, is why. And I was like, man, there's nobody here. And he goes, yeah, you should have been here 30 minutes ago. We had to stop scanning people because it was so backed up. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that's part of, that's what gave me the idea. It's like, okay. And if you look at the flight schedules, dude, they have them bunched into these groups. And then they have these periods where they're just, not busy. So, yeah, I totally, that theory you have is, I think, absolutely right. Bang on.
All right, guys. This was I thought it was an all-time great. Nothing but bangers. Nothing but bangers. One time I should just go through all the episodes and then just what were the best episodes. I think I don't even think you can do a top 10. There's so many great ones, but that one
beginning of the year, he came in hot. Beginning of the year.
We done nothing but bangers, bro. Yeah. Nothing but bangers, bro. We hit hard. We don't pull punches. So okay, that's it.
Check out your website.
Yeah, check out my website, guys, real quick. I'm just adding dates. So good news, bad news. Turns out that I won't be recording my special at the end of February. I might have to do it a week later because they gave away the date.
Oh no.
Yeah, it sucks, bro. I just want to shoot this and get it over with. I want to get it over with. I love it. It's a great. So anyways, Comedy Chaos is this Tuesday night, and it might be
your lineup.
Fire.
Yeah, then I think we might try to make it, dude. I think we're gonna try to
come
get
down. Get on the fucking grab your tickets now because it's gonna fill. Then we have Then we have the Rabbit Hole Bar. My political and spiritual and religious comedy night is starting to get some traction.
Dude, it's intimate. It's intimate. You guys got to pull up.
See it, dude. Then I'm going to be in Batavia at the end of the month. I love it. Bakersfield. So I'm adding dates, by the way. What is February? Yeah, Bakersfield. I have a pretty empty February. Damn. My February is very empty. Bakersfield, and then Huntington Beach on the 12th, and then again at the end of the month. I thought I had another date in March. Go up. I didn't have another date in March. Damn. Okay. All right. I'm sad. That's it. Anything else, guys? Oh, check out our affiliate program. Real quick. No, go down. Premium content is on fire, dude. A lot of changes will be coming to the premium content. We'll see, but go to rockfin.com, click any of these banners. We'll take you to whatever show you want. I'm banging them. I'm hanging them. Tinfoil Hat 3, occasionally do a 0, and then I do a Rockfin Conspiracy Social Club every month. Every week. Then first preview of Broken Sims there. Cash Daddy's Patreon's on fire. Go check that out. T-shirts available. Go to T-shirts. See if we have new T-shirts up yet. Did he put up any of my new T-shirts? There's so many new T-shirts I wanted up. Damn.
We're working on it.
Okay. So the T-shirts are good. And then what else we got? The affiliates program is what I'm so excited about. If you go to buy gold and silver, get your gold and silver now. Chaos in 2024. Gold and silver will rule. Okay. You got to get silver too, because that's much easier to
we lost you.
business with, right? I'm back. So grab the gold and silver. Brown gas, hydrogen, aqua cures, hydrogen, brown gas. Get that. Our friends at Harley Ray, okay? Candles, crystals, whatever you want, you get it there. Swarm 15% off. Chemical free body. I get it all the time. I use Tim James supplements. They make me feel electricity, bang, bang, pow. And then finally, my friend Joel Staley, I feel like I'm getting better and better at lifting weights. He's got a great workout program. For a guy who used to have tits, I'm seeing my titties form. I'm getting in better shape. I can't suggest it enough. Joel Staley is great. Joel Staley just got done doing a 7-day fast. I just
wow.
7 days. What are you, crazy, bro?
7 days, just water, huh? That's crazy.
I want to get down. I have to hit a running stuff. I have to hit it.
Will you have a before and after? Will we see a before and after on this website one day?
Titties, no titties. He said he lost 19 pounds in that week.
Oh my God.
I would do anything to lose 19 pounds. I can't. I can't do it. And then I got social. I'm going to be, my internet's about, in the next couple months, my website is going to get way more interactive. Just so you know. Nuke.social. That's a great one. The telegrams for my show. And then go down all the free audio. Enjoy it while it lasts. Anything else, guys?
No.
We just recorded Broken Sim last night. We went a little long, but it was a good episode. We got in some crazy. There's just so much crazy shit happening right now that we got into.
So much
Broken
crazy
Sim.
shit.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a wild, crazy episode.
Love you guys. Enjoy these highlights.
Here's a clip from the latest Broken Sim.
Who is the biggest scumbag on the planet?
Yeah.
Like her grandmother was a literal Nazi.
And he's accosting her. That's too harsh a word.
No.
He's attempting to interview her. Yeah, he's attempting to interview her on the street because she never gives press time to ask her real questions.
She is the permanent state of scumbag that, like, when you think of an awful politician who, like, if there was a different time, she would be dealt with differently. Yeah. I just don't want to say it so we don't get in trouble.
No, I got you.
You know, like,
we'll talk about that in a second with Roger Stone. Yeah.
Chink. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Freeland, how come the IRGC is not a terrorist group?
Yeah.
Why is your government supporting?
By the way, look at the rack on that one.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You're under arrest for assault.
Yeah, look at this piece of shit.
Look at his crazy eyes.
You're under arrest for assault.
Look at, like, dude, stop it. This is
So
a
infuriating.
brown shirt scumbag.
Yep.
This is what a brown shirt looks like. You have no distinguishing features. You're a shaved, bald, white guy, and you're a bootlicking scumbag that just is like you are hurting your own people.
Yeah.
You're hurting your own people
Apparently
for a
it's- yeah.
paycheck.
Apparently, it's legal to take a charge as a police officer
Yeah,
in
you're
Canada.
setting
That's
a
what he
pick.
did. Yeah, he said he
You're
totally
just
did.
setting a pick. You literally just stopped there.
That's
he
all he
wasn't
did.
even looking at you, and you basically touched him.
Illegal screen. That's what it was. Totally.
That was Johnny. That was an illegal screen for
It really-
sure.
It
Throw
seriously
the
was.
flag.
The guy, if you're listening at home, so the guy was just walking down the sidewalk with his face toward this woman who's walking toward him, and this police officer kind of picks him off. Just stands next to him and physically screens him, and then the camera moves away for just a second, and when we come back to the guy, he's like, "You're under arrest for assault."
Police, you're under arrest. How am I under arrest? You bumped into me. You pushed into me. You bumped. I was just scrubbing.
no.
I got my credentials here, and you just bumped into
Yeah,
me.
you're a scumbag.
Police.
You
And
are
the
a
journalist
scumbag.
is an old guy. I mean, he's an older guy.
Like, yeah, he looks like he's like a gumshoe, right?
Not
like
threatening at all.
From back in the day, like, we're gonna crack this code, like a murder. What was the old
one of
show?
Murrow's boys or something.
Murdoch. What was that old show where like the guy would solve murder?
Oh, you're talking about you see,
Is it
just
Murdoch?
one more thing.
I got a question for you.
Yeah, what is that guy? Oh, come on.
Old detective shows. Look up
It's not
old
Perry
detectives.
Mason. No, oh shit. Columbo. There we
Columbo,
go.
Quincy. There's a whole bunch of them.
There's so many of them. Yeah, Columbo is great. Oh, yeah. You see, I just one thing I didn't quite understand was
Kojak. He's got a Kojak kind of feel to him.
You said you and your wife went out for dinner.
Yeah, I don't quite understand.
Betty
what
at
you
the
said.
hotel said she saw you check in at 6:30. That's just all I want to ask you about.
Yeah.
Remember, he would just play stupid like he didn't know what he was talking about. Okay, so here's Crazy Eyes, this police officer, clearly just a total grunt for the government, cog in the machine of crushing down democracy.
Like, look at this guy. Like,
Crazy, just crazy.
You were a baby at one point, a little kid who had dreams of probably playing pro hockey.
He brought.
Yeah, I mean, just
Now,
bootlicking
I will say
scumbags.
how they handle this arrest tells me that they know they're probably not in the right here.
Yeah,
because
I'm
they're
like,
not.
well, hold on. If you go back a little bit, you could see in his eye go, "Oh, I think I fucked up."
Yeah.
Go back a little bit.
No, you're totally
right
right.
there.
Yeah,
that look is like, watch, play it, play
Pushed into me. You bumped. I was
See,
just
see,
scrubbing. I got my
Right
credentials
here.
like
here.
right there.
Right
He's like,
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
I fuck, yeah,
Police.
yeah.
under arrest. What is your name in your badge? What is your name in your
See, I don't know in
badge?
Canada they have to do that kind of stuff,
Why am
like
I under
identify.
arrest?
Because, well, we should say also, if you're listening, these aren't people wearing police uniforms. These are people just dressed like civilians. There's nothing identifying them as
well,
police.
there's a police behind
him, but this
he's
guy is not.
obviously
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
and he's a henchman basically for an evil witch.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, let's just power through this.
He blocked my way. What? I was just scrumming Christian Freeland.
I'm a police officer. You're under arrest.
What is your name in your badge number?
Now he finally identifies himself
How
as
is
a
that
police officer.
possible?
Okay? Because
You assaulted me 3 years ago when blackface on that.
Oh, there's history.
You mean I was
course.
asking questions aggressively?
no, your actions were. You were almost pushing everybody over.
You were almost pushing everybody
He got
over.
this on video, right? He's saying I'm pushing people over.
He said you were almost
That's
pushing
an
people
absolute
over.
falsehood.
No, this dumb fuck sets
So now
an
it
illegal
appeared that way.
pic.
That's what you're saying, officer. It appeared I was pushing people. I didn't touch a single person.
That was a little bit aggressive for what was
A little bit
Like,
aggressive.
what is this?
Please
Okay.
take the microphone out of my
He'll
face.
never get. These charges will never stick.
Can I
have the microphone? Can I have the microphone? Can I have the microphone?
That's such a Canadian arrest, though. By the way, like, watch. They take his clipboard out, and put it back in his bag for him.
I'm just doing my
Oh, not yet, but they do that in a second.
You don't need to resent. I don't have. You don't have to say anything. You know the drill.
Oh, he's like starting to realize.
Yeah.
Welcome to Blackfaces Canada. This is what they do to journalists. I was merely scrumming Minister Freeland and a RCMP officer.
Bootlicking motherfuckers. That's what they are. Bootlickers.
Yeah, these are scumbags.
But brown shirts don't realize that what happens is they come around, they take you guys out first.
Yeah. They're the first ones to go.
They're the
'cause
first
they know
ones
all
to
the
go
secrets,
because
yeah.
nobody likes sellout scumbags.
Guard Corps is not a terrorist organization. Is not a terrorist organization.
Yeah, anyway, they haul his ass off. Not much more to that video. But yeah, so if you want to support that guy, he's at Rebel News _CA on Twitter. Go check him out.
And now, a highlight from Cash Daddies.
But Disney still is trying to unload ESPN as an entity, and I think he will do it. He is trying to sell the whole thing and just get it off the books.
What does that do to the stock price of Disney, Howie? Is that good for it?
Over the 3 to 5 years, it'd be great for it because ESPN's not making any money for him right now.
Okay. What does that do to ESPN, do you think, though? Do you worry for the future of ESPN if it gets spun off?
What?
Truthfully, I
get spun off.
If when ESPN gets peeled off of Disney, what do you think about the future of ESPN?
If I'm Apple or Amazon, I jump on this. And then I clean up all the woke bullshit that Disney's done. And I get back. I mean, like, dude.
But how does that work? Can you explain though, Sam, how that works? Like, because a big part of their business is still being on cable and satellite, right?
Well, I mean, like, you don't necessarily have to pull them off there. You could still keep them there, but now you own that property and all the exposure that comes with that. Because to this day, ESPN is still a big brand. Just like there are people who still go to the MTV Video Awards, even though they don't show videos.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's just a brand that has name recognition. And like, this is just another chance for these apps to annihilate linear television.
Yeah.
It's done. It's done. But if you're Amazon, you have enough money to buy that rate up and just tweak it enough to that you get rid of the woke shit. I mean, and it's going to be so hard to get rid of this woke shit. We're seeing that right now with Disney.
Yeah, but something happened last week, which I could not believe.
Yeah, I know exactly what it is. The Pakistani chick.
I did not. No, you're talking about Pat McAfee. What he said.
Oh, the Pat McAfee stuff, dude.
That's fucking huge.
Yeah.
He basically came out on national TV and called his boss a piece of shit.
Well, what it is like after the Cat Williams stuff, everyone's like, you know what, fuck it. Why we play nice anymore? And dude, there's a moment on ESPN where that was so funny that would never have happened without Pat McAfee there, and that was what let a naysayer know, or what was it? Let a naysayer know. And we all know what it really is, which is let a nigga know, right? That's what it really is. But because it was ESPN had to say, let a naysayer know. And then Pat McAfee's like, whoa, I thought you were going a way different place with that, a way different direction. And it was so funny. And that moment would never have happened if they did have people like Pat McAfee on there just not giving a fuck.
The fact Pat McAfee came out and he said, well, you know, what do you say? When you're in a job like this, you're always going to have people trying to bring you down. And he goes, but it's weird to have your executive producer. And he goes, and I am talking about Norby Williamson. He said his name. And he goes, yeah, we've heard through the grapevine that it is you that is saying all this shit about it. And he said it. And what's his name? The linebacker just went, he went, oh, shit. He let the fucking lion out of the cage, baby. But look, that show does well. And that guy, Norby Williamson, tons of people that got let go, they all say he's a piece of garbage. I mean, the guy is rotten.
Yeah.
So I give him credit, man. I give McAfee credit. I don't really like McAfee's show. It's not that great, but I give him credit. You know,
I don't think it's that bad. It's just like, why did this guy blow up? Okay. But it's like, I just don't think it's bad.
Why did McAfee blow up?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's because of his connections, right? He can get
probably
any interview he wants,
right. Listen, I would take McAfee's show over almost everything on ESPN.
Absolutely, it's the best thing, dude. It's the only
There's nothing
clip that's
left
worth
on
looking
there.
at. Yeah,
They've ran off all the outlaws. They have fake outlaws like Stephen A. Smith. You know, and then it's like, that's the funny thing about the Cat Williams thing. You know, it's like you're yelling at Shannon Sharp, who like there's been a ton of gay rumors about, right? And who is on ESPN. Like, who's dancing for who at what point? You know, I mean, you don't get on ESPN unless you play ball.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, that Cat Williams shit had me laughing to the point I was crying.
So
man.
funny. Good for him.
It was just good, funny comedy, good, funny TV, man.
And good on Rogan for coming out and saying, like, dude, you can come on the show. I love you. Come on the show, please. I mean, that because, you know, part of what Cat Williams said was that, if you don't know, he said that Rogan would never have him on. And Rogan's like, dude, we play your clips all the time. We love you. Come on the show. And it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I said that before. As soon as it came out, I go, I guarantee you Joe Rogan would have him on.
Yeah,
guarantee
he confirmed it the next day. Yeah. So
he's a funny bastard.
I hope he ends up on
Cat Williams is insane. That's why
I don't agree with him. I don't disagree with him, but he is a funny bastard.
Well, the question is, Howie, do you think to get to the highest levels, you have to sell out at the highest level?
You don't have to sell out, Sam, but you do have to take a dick in your mouth. I don't know if that's selling out or not, but I do. I am
like what in Hollywood, right? On acting and
of course. I mean, I'm sorry, man, but I have a connection with a person who has seen it. She's been there. She's seen it firsthand.
Like, what does that mean?
It means that she has been to parties. She's been on shoots where she knows specific actors who had to do favors to specific producers, mostly producers, not directors, mostly producers. Favors. I mean, it is. Look, when Terry Crews came out and talked about being at that party where that dude was grabbing his junk, my girl knew exactly who that person was. She said that's just been happening for 20 years. I mean,
dude, when I was first coming up in LA, I remember going to a meeting pitching ideas, and the guy across from me was so flaming gay, and he basically threw it out there. Hey, how gay are you? And I go, not. And the meeting didn't go anywhere after that.
No, but look, when you, like I said, I know someone who's been in this business for 30 years and she has connections with.
Is she in the room?
Look, I'm not. I just know some stories. I know some stories that would blow your mind. It's just like, are you kidding me? Yeah, this happened. So and so hooked up with so and so, and that's how he got his first major film.
Well, here's the whole thing, right? Like, here's the whole thing, and it's like this weird thing, right? Where it's like apparently white women and black men like have to give up holes to make it in Hollywood, right? Like that seems to be the whole thing, right? It's like, so the Me Too movement was this notion that guys are predators and the only way women could make it is if they fucked their way to the top, even though we know that there are women who are willing to sleep their way to the top to get to the top. And like, just the problem is some chicks fucked the wrong people and it went nowhere.
Yeah, that happens all the time, by the way.
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Tinfoil hack.